like fuck around and find out. Like you're literally like your 20s are for fucking around, your 30s are for finding out.
If I was able to command a room and move people to emotion with the sound of my voice, I don't know that I would use that power for good. So I'm torn because I'm 37, right? So I'm not trying to do all that. So I do not have public relationships. So if you think I'm single, I'm single. If you don't think I'm single, I'm not single.
This year, my libido has taken a weird backseat. And I'm usually not like that, but I have zero desire.
I can't fucking believe we're the adults. Like, we're the adults.
I'm the one.
We're the ones supposed to be setting the fucking tone for behavior. Like, don't ask me anything.
Yeah.
Go to a doctor.
Yeah.
And then if your doctor tells you you're healthy, tell everyone to fuck off and suck your dick. You, like, I have PTO. Like, yeah, but we really need you. Like,
what, are you not
I have the days off. Like, what do you mean? I don't care if you need me. Like,
recently I had an older woman comic and it took me by surprise where she comes up to me at a bar and granted she's drunk and we're friends, but she goes, babe, like, why does like no one like you?
Size though, because this would definitely give me a yeast infection.
I hate going to the gym and I can't stand being set up.
It feels like I just had a one-night stand and I'm like, where's his bed sheet? Oh, God.
I hate Miami now. I hate doing comedy in Miami, so it's like I've closed the loop on Miami a little bit. But
really?
Yeah. Are you from South Florida?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh. Have we started, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
we're rolling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just try to.
I used to do intros and then I'm like,
No. I love it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, like, how far are we going here?
Yeah,
I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I went to school in Miami. So I went to Barry University. So I lived in Miami and started my career there. I was there for 10 years.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time in Miami before moving there.
Okay.
Because of my brother.
Got it.
So I was not familiar with South Florida, but I'd gone down to see him. And yeah, so born and raised in Pittsburgh, lived in Miami for 10 years, and now I've been in LA for 8.5 years.
Got it. Okay. So you've always had that like connection to Miami and everything. Now, did you always want to work in media and do what you do now, or was there like a diversion? I'm like very curious.
I always knew that I had things to say.
Love that.
I have that like traditional news anchor story where you like did the news with the hairbrush at home.
Yeah.
And did plays and things like that.
Yeah.
I was a little pageant child, which I rebuke, but I was.
Yeah. Was it traumatizing being a pageant
No, I didn't do it that hard. I didn't go that hard on it.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
It was the one pageant that I did as a child. I sang "The Sun Will Come Up, the Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow."
Your bottom dollar.
And I used to be able to sing when I was a child, and then I hit puberty, and everyone was like, "Oh, is this your calling? Like,
maybe don't do that."
Yeah, maybe there's another path for you.
Yeah, I was in chorus growing up, and it turns out when I'm in a sea of other voices, I'm a great singer. But there was a reason I never got the solos.
Yeah, it is. I'm very jealous of people that can sing, but I do also feel like God knew what he was doing. I don't think I'd be a good person if I was able to command a room and move people to emotion with the sound of my voice. I don't know that I would use that
for good.
Power for good. I don't know. I think
that's what I say about being a supermodel. I'm like, that's a reason God didn't give me like the jawline and the huge natural boobs or whatever.
For sure. If I was a supermodel, I would also be a very bad person.
Yeah, I'd be insufferable. Yeah.
It's just, I'm barely sufferable now. So there's no shot. There's no shot.
Yeah, like whenever people are like, you're a handful, I'm like, yeah, you try being me. Yeah. You try dealing with everything that's happening every day.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, how did we get to say, like knowing I wanted to be in media. Yeah. So then I went to college. This is embarrassing, but I've told the story before.
Yeah.
My freshman year of college, I went to school for psychology because I watched Halle Berry and Gothica.
And you were like, I want to do that. That's me.
Yeah. I was like, I totally want to work in an asylum. That sounds like something I could do every day.
Yeah.
Sounds like my home life. So it was an easy transition.
Yeah.
And I've always been really interested in psychology and, conversations.
Yeah.
That lead to progress, I guess, is some way that you can look at, being a therapist or working in that space. But so I took my first semester and I talked to my professor at the end of it and was like, if I want to have my own practice or if I want to like be a doctor and work in this space, how long do I have to be in school? Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, you got like a solid 12 years. And I was like, fuck that. Fucking school for 12 years.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
So I immediately changed my major. It was the correct choice for all of mankind.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was my pivot away
You're
from
like,
that.
my contribution to society is not doing that. You're
that.
welcome, society.
No way. I mean, like, God bless them. Like, they're and they should. Like, doctors should have to earn the right to call themselves a doctor.
You're like, I'm not contesting how long they're in school. I'm just saying I ain't doing that shit.
It's not for me.
Yeah. I was political science my freshman year, and I convinced myself I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to work in international affairs or whatever.
Ooh.
And then much like I looked at, I didn't even get as far as you did. I looked at a pre-LSAT like prep book and how thick it was, and I said, fuck that. Like, I couldn't even get through the prep book. And then my mom was like, hey, you probably shouldn't be a lawyer if you can't even move through the LSAT prep.
No, there's so much reading that goes into it. Yeah. It's a lot of work. And you know, we work hard at different things.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
We are not doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, it's like when neurosurgeons look at what we do and they're like, I can't believe you do that. You get on stage in front of people or you're on TV and then you're like, you cut people's brains open. What are you talking about?
Everyone has their calling. Like I always like to keep a perspective on things. Like I'm not digging ditches.
Yeah.
I worked as a server and a bartender for years throughout college and early in my career. There are harder jobs as far as like physical toll, what you're asking of the human body, what you're asking of the human brain, for sure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're not working hard at what you do. I just want to be clear, like, I'm not comparing what we do to neurosurgery.
Oh, totally.
Like, there's levels to this.
Yeah, totally. Like in the pandemic when obviously like entertainment and show business came to a screeching halt, you know, and people are like, the comics and artists were like, we're essential and we're so crucial and I'm like, the thing is, we're very, like, I feel as a comedian and artist, I'm like, we're very important, but we're not essential. Like, I was like,
there's a difference.
There's a difference. And I think, like, recognizing that. And then I also find that sometimes people that have the more essential and traditional jobs, I've also run into people that are totally disrespectful of what we do, like, at least as a comedian.
Right.
And it also think the other side of it, that it's like a party every night. And I'm like, nope, I go to bed as early as I can when I don't have shows.
Well, I think with art and any kind of like front-facing space, it's just, I think it's like any other job. Like how you treat it is what you will get out of it. Like the idea that you're just at events every night and you're just drinking expensive champagne. And some nights are like that. But if you do that every night, your career is going to be very short.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make good relationships or keep them within the business or elsewhere. And your quality of life is going to be shit. And I mean, for me, I do a daily show. So my routine is very important. I mean, my schedule's great now, but we were talking before about doing mornings and like, you know, there's a path that you have to go through where you really have to be dedicated and take care of yourself or you're not going to be able to show up for what you do.
Oh, yeah.
So again, are we essential? No, we're not essential.
Yeah. Well, we can be impactful,
important.
Yeah.
Helpful.
Yeah.
And, you know, comedy is something that really helped a lot of people during the pandemic specifically. Yeah. And we also saw how much entertainment and not having live entertainment, not having the access to go out and go to a comedy show or
what it will do to
a sporting event, what it does to your mental health. Yeah. Again, like no way comparing what we do to essential workers. They are the best of us.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. So you always knew it was media. You started and then you came to LA, you said 8.5 years ago. Yeah. Do you like LA genuinely? Or do you like
I do now. I struggled with LA a lot when I first got here. I had spent no time on the West Coast before moving here. My whole family's on the East Coast.
Yeah, same.
And I was very alone. I didn't know anyone here. Like, did not have any friends here. I came alone. And
not a single person?
No.
That's crazy.
Now, when I got here and kind of announced that I moved here, people popped up that I knew that I didn't know lived in LA.
Yeah.
But I did not have like a core. I didn't have a core anyone. Yeah. When I moved here, LA is a really hard place to move to. Yeah. It's there's a lot of things happening that do not go on in other cities. So it was a lot mentally, emotionally for me being here. I wasn't working when I first moved here because even though I had been hired by Fox and I was getting paid to be here, I was not doing a show because the show hadn't launched yet. So Undisputed, the first show I worked on for FS1, didn't launch until September. So I was filling in on shows here and there. I would take meetings here and there, but I was really kind of just fiddling around. I was crushing, marathons of SVU.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really, and you always say like, oh, like get paid to do nothing.
That's my worst nightmare.
It's hard because you think you're self-motivated. Like thinking back now, I'm like, I should have learned another language or gotten in the best shape of my life or, whatever. But you don't. You don't. You just don't. You don't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, to the people who do that, like
kudos.
Built different. Because I know, like, I was in that situation and I was like wanting to work because I'm, again, doing a daily show, which is what I've done for my whole career, working in radio and working in Miami and working in television. I go to work every day. Yeah. And so being wired that way, it was a big pivot for me. And then I had some situations with men that weren't my favorite. And
classic. Same.
Learning the city, trying to figure out the politics of navigating the entertainment industry. So it was years where I was like, I hate this place. Yeah. But now I get it, and I have a great circle of friends here, and I'm really settled. And now I understand LA. And I've seen LA pre-COVID, which I think was a blessing because it's so different now to me and to a lot of people that live here.
A lot of people feel like it hasn't bounced back, really.
I don't know that so I'm torn because I'm 37, right? So I'm not trying to do all that. So like, did it not bounce back, or are we all 2 years older? Like, I don't know. I can't tell. There are definitely some parties that don't exist anymore that we used to go to regularly. Yeah. But I'm like, maybe the young people in this city, not that I'm old, but the younger, maybe the early 20s and all that, are having a different experience than the rest of us.
And that's why they think LA is different and changed and not the same or something.
I don't know that everyone is universally having that experience.
Yeah, that's interesting. On the last episode that we just recorded, we all were joking about how like everybody aged dramatically from the pandemic. Like everyone's like all of a sudden, and like I'm like 33 and I'm fine, knock on wood, thank God. But like I'm like having health issues for the first time in like my life, like cholesterol and like.
Oh yeah, your 30s, especially your mid 30s, or your body is gonna let you know what choices you made in your 20s. Yeah. And as a woman, you're just like I was just talking about this the other day. Like I have to eat like within this lane.
A tight window, or like
like it's a spicy, like what do we have going on tomorrow? Like it's too much sugar. Like my co-host was just crushing a Sprite, and I was like, that looks delicious, but I can't drink that. I mean, my stomach, I can't even imagine that much sugar. Please, unimaginable.
That's how I feel. I mean, I'm like sensitive to sodium now. Like if food is too salty, I'll take 2 bites and I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going to get a migraine. And like this, like, when I travel, especially these big sprints in LA and New York, like I try so hard to stay disciplined, but it's really hard with late nights. I've had like fast food. Yeah. I've had fast food after 10 o'clock. Twice in the last week. And I don't do that at all in Miami. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, my insides feel, hate me. My body hates me right now.
I went to my nephew's game in Gainesville.
Oh, I'm a Gator.
They were playing, LSU was playing the Gators, and I ate Wendy's for 3 straight meals. Yeah. Because we couldn't find anywhere to eat.
Been there.
Let me tell you, I was like, whew. The end of my life will feel differently because of this day. There's this crazy behavior. Not okay.
Like you're I just shaved 2.5 years off my life with these McNuggets.
Yeah, I'm hoping it was like just a week, but like definitely there will be consequences for that later. Yeah. But the exciting part of getting older as a woman is that you get hornier. So that's a thing that I read about and is now happening.
My libido is non-existent
it's awesome
right
if
now.
You have someone to have sex with. It's great. Yeah.
Are you super single?
Yeah.
Okay, we don't need to get into it. We can share whatever you want.
I do not have public relationships. So if you think I'm single, I'm single. If you don't think I'm single, I'm not single.
That's it.
But you're never gonna know.
I like that.
Either way.
I like that choose your own adventure a little bit.
You guys can choose whatever you want. It's convenient for the internet that I'm single because then it's my fault and like this is why men don't want to be with her and stuff like all those things.
Is that what the internet comment threads are now like attacking or something? Is like whatever?
No. Like if you're a woman who does not present with a man, then it's obvious that you're single, which like the amount of times I have to tell you guys, your favorite girlie is not single.
Yeah. Yeah. She's
works. Not. She just not sharing her relationship with
you.
Like,
Yes,
she's
yeah.
not single. Like, please.
Yeah, you really think she's on
running
the
her
market?
Please.
Yeah.
Like, be serious. But
yeah.
if you want to think I'm single, that's
go
fine.
ahead and think, yeah. So it's like, yeah, I like
whatever
that a
you
lot.
prefer. Whatever fits your narrative.
It's like project onto yourself, whatever. That's it. Yeah.
But I will say though, when stretches where you are single,
Yeah.
and this new like thing, and I don't know like what you know, I don't ask how horny you are. It's kind of weird, but
No, we
I
can
will
talk
say like
about it. Yeah.
women as you get old, like I've heard this, like
Yeah.
you want to have sex more. Not that I didn't want to when I was younger, but I'm like, who? What's happening?
This is what's happening now. Well, this
Can't
is
eat anything.
I love all of this. So I love all of this. First off, I was literally going to ask you, and almost from like an advice perspective, as somebody who's younger in the newer to the entertainment business, it's if you find that presenting as single I'm asking this in the most has brought you more opportunities, or it's better for your brand, or it's better for, and I say that because obviously, like, I know there's men that buy tickets to my shows that enjoy my comedy, men that buy tickets to my shows for the small hope that they may get in my pants. And then there's a Venn diagram of men in the middle that are like, I like her comedy, but I'd also like to have sex with her and whatever. So I've had people ask me, like, even if you landed in a serious relationship, now that you have a following and a brand, would you still present as single because you're afraid it would affect your ticket sales, or you talk so much about being single in your comedy? Are people going to feel like disconnected from what you do? So that's why I ask if you feel not like do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I do.
Yeah.
I think comedy is probably different because in a lot of ways you want to be talking about what's going on in your life as relatable, and not talk about things you used to do, or, you know, like some of that in your material. Yeah. Probably needs to be self-reflective. So
I try to have it be.
Yeah. So I think it's probably a little bit different. It also depends on what part of your career you're in. Like, it doesn't make a fucking difference if I'm in a relationship or not. Like, I've been in the business for this long. Like, if someone's going to be weird about that with me, they're just a weirdo. Yeah. For me, it's more about, one, protecting the things in my life that I hold to be personal. And I actually am a very private person. So even though I share a lot of my life, I choose what I share, and that's part of having some level of control over the input that people have on you. And you know, when you're navigating the social space, like, and everyone has a different way of doing things. Some people tell everything, and they're like, we know everything about their life, and everything happens every day,
and that's their comfort zone.
Yeah, that's what they prefer. I am not. I'm somewhere in the middle where I do want people to know me and like have a personal connection to my story and who I am and what I'm going through or what I have gone through. But there are just parts of my life that I'm not sharing. And I've been in public relationships, so I know the cost of that. And it's not that it's going to cost me fans or followers. It's more about the cost of, okay, you post your man, then you post your man again in 2 weeks. If you wait 3 weeks, people are hitting you like, oh my God, are you guys still together?
Did you guys break up?
Like, oh, I haven't seen him on your page in a while. Like, no, just had some other content I had to ship out. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's sitting right next to me. But like that, even people that know you will be on this, like, you don't realize how much people are clocking you. Yeah. And that's a weird anxiety. Like, even if your relationship is perfectly fine, you're like, I haven't posted in a while. Like, maybe I'll just like put the selfie up so people know everything is good.
And then you find yourself doing crisis PR for your own life.
For what? Like, it's that, and then there's just other elements of it. So to me, it's hard to give advice in every single space, because I do think like maybe actresses, it's better to present as single or whatever. Like, in my space, I really truly don't think it matters. Yeah. It's just more my personal preference. Like, I have friends who are have boyfriends that post, that are just seeing someone they're posting, that are married and post their whole lives, that are married and never post their husband. Like, there's all kinds of different range. For me, it's just more about, there's elements of being in a public relationship that I don't feel like I don't need to pay dues to other people for what's personal to me. And it does come as a bit of a cost to, like, as we're kind of joking about it, but like, people think that you're habitually single, or people think that, nobody, you have, I don't know. It's just funny to me because I'm like, be fucking for real. But it's like, people think that. People create these narratives about you in your mind, in their minds. And like, for me, it's more about like, make up whatever story you want. Yeah. It's worth it to me for you to make up a story than for me to actually give you this validation. And that's why people just pop out married. I mean, you see it all the time
Yeah,
in the
you
entertainment
really
business
do.
now, where people will have no idea people are dating and they are in Como having a full wedding.
Oh yeah, well, you just had Dave Grohl literally
y'all
yesterday.
Fought.
Dave Grohl literally yesterday was like, okay, I guess I should tell the world that like I birthed a child outside of my marriage. Did you see that? No, did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, it did. So it was like, and a lot of people were like, I don't understand why he would share this. And at least from my perspective, I was like, he's incredibly famous and well known and been in the business. Like,
It's going to come out.
it's going to come out. He's probably just trying to get ahead of it. But that's all very interesting. And it's like, I mean, I've been single for a couple years now, and it's not entirely dormant. Well, to answer your question, I mean, nothing's TMI for me, I guess, as a stand-up comedian. Like, this year, my libido has taken a weird backseat. I'm usually not like that, but I have zero desire to, she's gone to bed by herself this year.
But you go through phases like that, especially in your 30s.
It's weird though.
Like,
I almost feel like I was broken. I feel like broken a little bit. Like, I'm like, is there something wrong with me?
Not at
What's
all.
happening?
No,
Yeah.
it'll come back. And I mean, I went through multiple phases of that throughout my life where it's not even that it'll be intentional. I'm just like, I'm literally not thinking about, obviously in this being single, obviously in your relationship, you're not going to do this, but if you're single, where I'm not even thinking about dating, I'm not thinking about sex. I don't have urges. Like, there's just so many other things that are a priority.
Yeah.
And it's just your body is responding to that in some ways. Like, I have a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
Still. And my body's like, we don't care.
We
You
don't care.
add this to the to-do list.
Yeah.
So I completely relate, and I've gone through the same thing. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like that was a part of my life that always came naturally. Like, I consider myself a very like sex positive, openly sexual person. That doesn't always mean, and I think it gets construed that it means promiscuity.
Of course.
I had my whole phase, obviously. I did my 20s. My 20s were my 20s, had my fun. But like, so it's been an adjustment, I guess, along with all these other changes coming into my mid 30s of like, finally, like having, again, I'm fine, but being unhealthy a little bit. Like, having my doctor be like, you need to watch your cholesterol. I was like, what am I, like 65? And he's like, what are you doing to your
cholesterol? I mean,
yeah. I'm like, oh, and I need to maybe freeze my eggs. Like, and maybe get Botox. Like, what is happening? But yeah, it's an interesting, but also with that, I will say, has also come like this like very big sense of peace and like who I am and what I'm doing. But yeah, my libido right now is I'm not seeing anybody. There's nothing happening. I'm bored. I'm very bored. But I guess things are going well, but I'm bored. I'm very, very bored.
I mean, if you have a chaotic bone in your body, the boredom is very hard to fight sometimes. But being bored, it can also be a reflection of you making not just good decisions, but letting decisions that you've made, even in your chaotic state, to show up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, you worked for the right to be bored.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like I've like hustled hard enough to where
So
like
you're bored now.
I could be bored. Yeah, and it's okay. And I think it's better to be bored and have that chaotic bone, but then have control over when you get to kick that chaotic bone into action. That's the way healthier way to do it than have it be the opposite, where it's like chaos all the time.
Right.
And then you have to train yourself to like settle down or be bored or slow it down. Right?
Yeah, and it's like, dude, there's all these different chapters in your life and in your career, and I think it's important to honor all of them.
Yeah.
You know, like, people talk a lot about like their 20s, and you're talking about, you know, you had your fun in your 20s. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. And if you hadn't done that, you might be that crazy bitch that's doing shit in your 30s that we're all like, girl, didn't we do that already? We did that.
Yeah, like we know how this story
like, don't drag
ends.
me into this. I've done that.
Yeah.
Love that for you. Right?
But I'm
like,
not there right now.
That part of the story has already been printed and sent off. Like,
I'm working on a bit about this, about how your 30s are the most awkward portion of your youth, because you're literally sandwiched in between like fuck around and find out. Like, you're literally like, your 20s are for fucking around, your 30s are for finding out.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. And it's like, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'm young enough to where I can still get away with the stuff I'm doing in my 20s. But obviously I think people have a right to kind of side eye and be like, why are you still,
Sure.
you know? But then I also have my friends that are like doing traditional, whatever that means, 40s, 50s, and beyond things in their 30s. So I'm trying to joke, like, I'm in between Four Loko and down payment. Like, I'm in between Four Loko and marriage license or whatever. And it's like, we all have the one friend in the friend group who's too much in the Four Loko. She's like, you up at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, and you're like, yeah, I have a job. I'm up. I'm working. Yeah.
I've been up for 3 hours.
I've been up for 3 hours.
I already went to Pilates.
Right. Exactly. I've already done 10 different things. And then I also have the friends in my friend group that I'm like, they're the engagement, marriage, house, kid, domestic accomplishments all came very quickly. And then I'm also watching that backfire as well too. So it's like
it's all gone to the phase that we're also in the divorces now.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think I was having this conversation last night where it is still I think our generation, and I say our generation, like people who are in their 30s right now, who were on the last end of like understanding what life was like without the internet.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't know. There is a name for it, but
yeah,
that kind of group of people. It is just still fascinating to me that I'm an adult. Like I'm 37 years old. I'm like, if I have a child right now, I'm a teen mom.
Yeah.
Like, I do not, I can't, like I see my nieces and nephews and I'm like, wow, they think I'm so old. And
I feel so young
to me. I am like, you can't tell me I'm not 24 years old, but I'm not. And it's
amazing.
A very weird thing. And I don't think I'm alone in this experience.
No.
I'm like, I can't fucking believe we're the adults. Like, we're the adults.
I'm the one.
We're the ones supposed to be setting the fucking tone for behavior. Like, don't ask me anything.
Yeah,
I've
the
got
one
like
who's
2
supposed
words
to
of
have
advice.
answers.
Work your ass off.
Yeah.
And I don't know, travel. Because I'm not going to tell you to save for a house. Yeah. I'm not going to that's for your grandparents or something. Someone older, I don't know. But I'm not going to give you that kind of advice.
Well, what I'm finding is interesting is I felt very young and like a whippersnapper and like very in my youth. And then I feel like 32, 33 right now. I feel old, but I think that's my current state of affairs with both working and no libido and all the other things that are happening. But I have my friends that are like 36, 37, 38 they embody your energy now too, where they're like, yeah, I had my old soul phase in my early 30s. And then it looped back around and I started having fun again and like feeling youthful.
For sure. But you are also absolutely not old.
I know.
You're absolutely, and neither am I. And like,
no, I know.
Like, and if you're 20, like, oh, you're so old. Like, no, I'm actually not. Like, I'm actually in my 30s. I'm not an old person.
Yeah, my life is actually just ironically getting started.
Like, this is fine. Like, we have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
And I also think there's something too, specifically with women, because we're speaking pretty generally right now.
Yeah.
With women, we are the first generation of women, fully generation of women that are in the workspace, in the workforce. We have independence, for now, autonomy on our bodies. And that realization of the work that women did for so many years to get that independence has fully blossomed in our generation. So things are different. Like the priorities are different. I mean, I've been married and divorced but if
when was that? What age were you? I'm just curious.
I was 29 when I got married.
Got it. Okay.
But like, and I realize I'm a bit of an outlier, but women having full control over their lives, being able to start businesses, being able to drive cars,
being able to wear what they want,
being able to own homes, like living your whole life as men have always been able to do, has changed things as well. And you know, a lot of people would say like, well, like people aren't as happy, blah blah blah. Like, yeah, fuck off. You have the choice to do what you want now. If you want to take the traditional route, you can do that. If you don't, you can do that. And this is the first time in history where that exists, at least in this country.
Yeah. And I think that's why like we're going through these like guinea pig growing pains, our generation, because you're right. Like it's the
and we have no one to ask. We can't ask.
No.
I can't ask my mother what that was like, because she could have a job, but she did not have that existence. My grandmother certainly did not have that existence.
Yeah.
She absolutely had to be married.
Yeah.
She had to do what her husband said.
Yeah. She had to have a traditional 9 to 5.
Yes.
She even had to follow certain social constructs and her beliefs and
For sure.
yeah, like
They
literally
didn't have social media to share their thoughts.
Yeah.
They had an absolutely judgmental group of other women around them expecting certain types of behaviors, even within their friend groups. There was no access to mental health. Like there's all these factors, and people make these sweeping statements about like where we are as a society. Like listen.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like there's a lot going on here that you're not considering.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make it negative or positive. It is absolutely the right thing that women should have the choice to be able to leave their husband if their husband is beating the shit out of them and spending all their money at the dog track.
Yeah.
And take their children and start their own business and buy a home and not have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like and those weren't outliers. Like
no.
So stop.
Yeah,
like,
it's very normal.
And the opposite of that might be that some women don't prioritize having families early in their 30s.
Yeah. And that's also very okay and allow that for them. Yeah. And I actually always think that like this level of change, to your point, like we talk about it being so radicalized and so extreme right now and times are crazy and everything's.
I mean, I don't remember the last precedented time.
Yeah. Literally. Well, I say this because I'm like, I think that change was also always happening. It's just in previous generations, it was quieter. It was more frowned upon. We didn't have social media. We weren't having conversations about it, but there were rebels and renegades in every generation. There were trailblazers. There was the first woman who dared to not have kids, who dared to not want to get married. There was Amelia Earhart. There was all these like different pioneers. This change has always been there. It's just that in 2024, because of all these tools and resources, we're like aware of it now.
Yeah.
And we're able to actually respond and have a discussion. And I do feel like millennials, our generation, we are caught in between like radically stagnant and radically progressive. So we're really feeling like this tug of war between like boomer, Gen X, and Gen Z. And I mean, personally, I think we're a great generation because I think we're able to like honor what's classic and what's worked, but also be open-minded to what needs to be changed and what doesn't work anymore. But yeah, again, that also comes with like resistance and tension and all these things.
Yeah. And it's funny. I was really just having this conversation about like how so much of what our parents were telling us, how much of it was right and like they were tracking and how much was total bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fundamentally, I think a lot of what our parents said to us, if you had good parents, I had one good parent. So one of my parents was telling us, we'll track forever. Like, work hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be
like,
kind to people.
Be kind to people.
Yes.
Make sure that you save. You know, think about your future.
Yeah.
Right? Like, your family matters. Like, all of those fundamental things can probably be tracked back for millennia. Right?
Yeah.
Like, cool.
That's not attached to a time period.
Right. That's not attached to a time period.
Yeah.
So what were like the time period pieces? Okay. Don't get a tattoo. You'll never get hired. Like, didn't work out. Didn't work out, guys.
Yes.
But they were right about belly button rings. Very stupid.
Yeah.
Very stupid.
Yeah.
You were right.
I forget I have mine. I really do. I hate it.
You still have it?
I still have it. Well, I got it later in life because...
Oh, okay. I got it in college. Huge mistake. Everyone's got infected because...
Mine was severely infected.
Yeah. Because your pants... You're not supposed to let anything touch it. And of course, your pants hit it and then it gets bacteria in it. It's disgusting. It's the worst idea. It's so stupid.
Ever. Well, when it was
And then
hot,
you were like dressing for your belly button ring.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even, you know what the funniest part is about it? I forget that I have it because lately I'm not really doing crop tops. Like, you know what I mean? Especially in my 30s, I choose like comfort over like everything else. And I will say as a stand-up comedian, I'm afforded that. Like I really can just be me.
Right.
Like whatever the fuck I'm feeling that day. And it's like, cause you're making a career, at least as a comedian, off of being yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. But I like wanted it so badly as a teen because Britney Spears had the stomach and midriff of all time, greatest of all time. And my mom was really against it. A lot of things that my mom was against her, put me on a pedestal or was like very tightly wound about. I have repressed and then exalted now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, but I got this like 2 years ago and it felt silly. And I was like, I don't even think I really want it. I just like,
You just want to try it.
I want to try it. I have the access to do it now. I'm not afraid. I can undo it. Let's see how I feel with it. But I definitely haven't I got it in my like pseudo granny year. I got it like in, and to your point also too, yeah, it was infected for like
it sucked. They were totally right about that.
I was like, is this ever gonna go away?
Yeah,
it was
it's the worst.
Now it's okay, but yeah, it's the worst.
It's the worst. They were totally right about belly button rings.
Yeah, this I'll die with though. It's so random.
I have a nose ring too, and my brother hated it. I eventually took it out.
Yeah.
I might bring it back. I'm considering.
Yeah.
But I still have the scar from it. But
I think it's because I genuinely wanted it and I didn't want it for trendy reasons or whatever.
It's super cute.
Thank you. I got it at 18.
And they're back now.
Yeah.
But that's my overall point though, is like a lot of the appearance shit that we were taught, like especially the body image shit. Like,
it's wild.
Get the fuck out of here.
Wild.
You go back and watch America's Next Top Model, like that girl is not overweight. Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, no wonder we all think we're fat still. And and then also there's nothing wrong with being overweight either. Like there are people have different body types.
Yeah.
Short, tall, wide, skinny. Like what's healthy for you? Go to a doctor.
Yeah.
And then if your doctor tells you you're healthy, tell everyone to fuck off and suck your dick. Like there's no way that this is real life. And those kind of things, like those impractical things that came from generations before that. And like you need to present and all those things, like those things, I think it's not that they were wrong, but they were kind of trying to move us forward with what they were taught.
Sure.
I feel like our generation, what we have given the next generation, because I'm trying to think like, what do we contribute?
What are we passing on to them? Yeah.
We definitely contribute. You can show up basically how you want. You're welcome. Like you can get tattoos. You can have a job with a nose ring.
Yeah.
You can have pink hair.
You can even identify as whatever gender you want.
Millennials did that. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Like we did that.
And Gen Z
we were emo kids so that you guys could do whatever it is you're showing up as today.
100%.
Whatever this vibe is, the high socks. All right. All that stuff, we did that for you.
I got pink creamsicle hair in high school for Gen Z to teach everybody that don't judge a book by its pink hair.
Yes, hello. The Slim Shady look.
Yeah.
We did all of that and we suffered and got yelled at by our parents.
Yep.
And got told we couldn't get jobs and all that stuff for you. So that like 100% thank us for that.
Yeah.
You can wear what you want every day because of us.
Yeah.
One.
And Gen Z is definitely trying to claim the whole like be who you are. We're like, no,
fuck out of here. We did that. You're welcome. Absolutely not. You're not getting credit for that at all.
Yeah.
And then also mental health. Like I think that our generation, we really dealt with a lot of this teenage angst stuff it's something that we all go through, but it's not all handled the same way. Everyone does not have the same home life. Everyone does not have the same hormonal balance.
Yeah.
It does not mean that you're crazy if you go to a therapist. It does not mean that people should be worried about if you're unstable, if you talk about not feeling your best today. Like I really believe, all jokes aside, that our generation really worked to and still are working to destigmatize having conversations about your mental health and it being okay to like, hey, I'm not okay today and I need to go home. I will be back tomorrow, but today is not my day.
Yeah.
And if you push me, I am too close to the edge.
Exactly.
And we understand and really have had extensive conversations and done a lot of work to destigmatize what our parents were not allowed to do and were not allowed to talk about and did not have access to now, because I'm sure most of us have had conversations with our parents about like, hey, like maybe it's time for you to go to therapy.
Oh, I talked to my two parents. I mean, I'm an only child and they are 71 and 72, mom and dad respectfully. And they desperately need couples therapy. They individually need therapy. I think my mother needs to be on an anti-anxiety medication. I'm diagnosing all these things. I mean, they're incredibly resistant. They don't listen to me.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And that's been something that I've been reconciling because since moving back to Miami, I'm much closer to them, which has really helped me heal from certain things and changed our relationship, our dynamic, learn what I can take from them that still holds true and has value for me, what I am okay letting go of. But I mean, that's an uphill battle. I don't think I'm ever going to win that battle with them. Wish me luck. I would add one more thing to the list that I think we're also passing on to Gen Z, and it's changing our relationship around money. I think money and jobs, I think we are the first generation that really normalized like being your own boss, carving your own path, and also changing what value to money and what really matters. And so,
I don't know if we can take full credit for that because we were the girl boss era.
Oh yeah,
like I think we definitely As far as taking control of the access and the rights that we had,
Yes.
as far as like creating your own businesses and
Yep.
being your own boss and all those things, definitely for sure laid the groundwork for that. But we overcorrected. Like,
Yeah.
where I think the younger generation is also overcorrecting too much, but
Yeah.
is somewhere on the right path, and we'll find the middle ground of work is not, I think COVID played a big role in this as well.
Yep.
Work is great, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome to love what you do.
Yeah.
And it's awesome to make money off of something that you're passionate about, that you're good at,
Yeah.
that you don't feel is work.
Yeah.
But you can also take a week off
Yeah.
and go wherever you want. Or just sit on your couch. Like,
Yeah.
do whatever you want. Like, I was of that generation of, like, if you take a day off work, you are lazy.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like, we normalized, like, your PTO is there for a reason, and you're quite literally losing
no, like,
money.
that would be like, you, like, I have PTO. Like, yeah, but we really need you. Like,
What, are you not
I have
listening?
the days off. Like, what
To
do you
me?
mean? I don't care if
Yeah.
you need me. Like, the show will go on. Like,
Yeah.
you will find someone to do the show for the day.
Yep.
It will be fine.
Yeah.
We are not splitting the atom. We are not reconstructing someone's brain.
No.
It's going to be fine.
I mean, that's partially why I quit the radio job, which I've talked about this a couple times on the podcast now, though. But like, I was gutted from the inside trying to juggle radio and stand up. And anytime I needed a personal day for myself, it was so much pushback and so much resistance. And I felt the same way you. I mean, I also used to work as an entertainment publicist. And one time my boss was like having a conniption over a press release over an unknown band, like on our roster. And I was like, we're really not like announcing a cure for cancer. Like, we're just announcing a record that's going.
Yeah.
Like, always just kind of keeping perspective with it. But yes, not to cut you off, but yeah, like that notion, like you don't need to be you don't need to devote your life to a company or the same company, or not. You're not a hero for not taking PTO. I
Yeah.
do think our generation did that. And I just think I think our generation was the first to kind of normalize, like, start that business, and it's okay to flounder a little.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think we were the first generation of, like, you know.
Well, we were just
Also, we don't have
correcting a
homes.
lot of
a lot of us don't own homes. Also,
we were
yeah,
correcting
yeah.
and dealing with a lot of toxic behaviors, a lot of situational things with the economy.
Yeah.
Like 2008 through like 2010, the recession
and everything,
like,
yeah.
like all of those things really delayed a lot of us in a lot of our professional lives as
Yeah.
well. So like we have to account for all of those things, but
AKA boomers' mistakes.
of course,
yeah.
right, which are being blamed on millennials, but
Yeah.
it's actually not of our doing. Like, I was graduating college in 2009, so I don't know what the fuck I contributed to that.
Yeah.
But I did suffer the consequences of that.
100%.
So-
Or it's interesting that, like, we're all like, absolutely, where a lot of us are like drowning in student debt,
Mhm.
but we also live in a nation that is drowning in
Debt.
multi-trillion dollars of debt, but is like penalizing us for missing a payment. It's like, hold up, wait a minute. You know what I
we
mean?
have quite a few big checks to write.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, everything's fucked, obviously, and it.
I say that all the time. Yeah.
It's all fucked, and it always
Yeah.
has been. Like, there's always been, and since humans decided that we were going to split away from Neanderthals,
Yeah.
sapiens and the Neanderthals went their opposite ways, it's been fucked because
Yeah.
it's people thinking that they know the best way to do things.
Yeah.
They don't. And when the best way to do that particular thing is presented to them, then they fight a war over it.
Yeah.
And then they decide that actually, just kidding, the war was about a woman. And then, so like, it's just, it's all complete and total bullshit. Everyone's just doing their best.
Yeah.
But I think each generation has a little thing they move forward.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say though, like I'm as a cranky old millennial I can't get with is like,
Yeah.
guys,
What?
we do need to take PTO. We
Yeah,
do.
we need to take PTO. Yeah.
But when you're not doing PTO, when it's not PTO, like
Yeah.
when you're actually working,
Work.
like yeah,
yeah.
that day is work.
Yeah.
So, like the PTO day is cool. Not
Yeah.
gonna text you, won't email you,
Yeah.
you know, but like that day that's
Yeah.
not PTO, the work day is like actually work.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we did inherit from the generation before. Like I would attribute like a work ethic to the generation before. Again, they overcorrected in the sense of like, we'll work so hard that you never take a breather and you never take a day off. Never see your family. No, but yeah, I will say that I've been, whenever I've had to work alongside Gen Z or I mean, even like a younger generation of comedians that I'm seeing crop up in Miami, I bitch like an old lady. Like I'm always like, run a show, hustle. Like, and they all have, I know a lot of them and they're good and they have potential, but they also think a lot of things are going to fall into their lap. And I'm like watching them do a quarter of the work and be upset that they're not getting certain notoriety. And I'm like, oh, see, I think that's where Gen Z and social media or whatever Delulu is in their probiotic soda.
Well, I think like I don't like to say all because it certainly isn't at all. And people always latch onto generalizations like, oh, everybody's not, there's this many examples. Of course. I think what is social media will always be there. And yes, it could take one video for you to go viral and get discovered. Yeah. Or you could never go viral. Right. So there's also like a process. And the other part of it is like, I don't like when people will talk about influencers or people that have big followings as if and are consistently putting out content as if they're not doing anything. Like
that is still work.
They're absolutely working. Yeah, like I'll go to an influencer event out here and just have conversations with full-time influencers. And I'm like, that sounds like a lot. Like every day you have to come up with a new creative video and shoot it and edit it. And listen, they're not digging ditches. No one is saying that. Yeah. But the idea that they just sit around all day eating chips and everyone just keeps following and liking their stuff is just not true.
It's very extreme and it's very inaccurate.
It's just inaccurate. Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, all the principles still remain. You still have to put in the work to get the results. You still have to be consistent. You still have to be a professional. All those things are still in place, and it's fine. Like, because we're the old heads now, so we're hiring.
Yeah, I'm the cranky old bitch now. It really am.
No, we're not old.
Yeah,
we're not old. We're old to younger people, but we're not. Because I think like when you were 20, if you were thinking of a 37-year-old. You're like, wow, it's the oldest person on earth.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I actually used to think when I was in my early to mid 20s, I used to think that I wanted to date an older guy, and older in my head was 28 to 29 when I was like 21.
Girl. You didn't do the 20 years older than
I did actually. Well, I did in my mid 20s. I dated a guy that was 17 to 18 years older. He was 17 or 18 years, whatever it was. I was early to mid 20s. He was hitting 40. So that's a considerable gap. That's a considerable gap for where we were at as well too.
Yeah, I did that twice.
And it was.
I think maybe I'm like telling and encouraging women now. Like maybe we were onto something there.
Yeah. Well, maybe I think we were, but I think it depends on where the gap is. Like, so for me at that level, the concerning thing was I always considered myself to be mature for my age. But I definitely,
of course you were mature.
But I wasn't mature in a general sense. And that's where I remember getting into like a huge fight with my dad about this because he was like, you're really not mature. You're mature for your age. And I was like, excuse you or whatever. And he was like, I think you're advanced for your age, but I also think you're like a normal kid for where you're at and you can't cheat learning certain lessons or certain things.
Yeah, you can never cheat the process.
Can't cheat the process.
I think dating older men was like,
I'm listening. I'm just answering our next guest. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's sorry. Okay. Yeah. I think it was more of like an access thing, but they were sexy. They were smart. They knew things,
That's what drew me to my ex. I liked that he had already been married. I liked that he had lived life. He did pursue me differently. I'll never take that from him, his toxic, abusive ass, but he did pursue me in a way that younger guys were too wrapped up in or had an ego.
They have like experience that younger guys did not have. Yeah. It really made you feel
like it would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what I had noticed, and I noticed it a couple months into our relationship, was, okay, I am attracted to him because he's older, and I feel I know what I want to an extent. Right. So him pursuing me, that's attractive. I'm mature for my age. That's cool. But I didn't realize at the time that he shouldn't like or drink or party or
he was coming down to your level. Yeah.
And I think he was already there. And then at some point I was like, I don't even want to do this shit. anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to bar hop. I don't want to recreationally do drugs. I don't want to party like this anymore.
Right.
But you still do with a kid.
Was this in
And
Miami?
It was in New York, actually. He was a music manager.
Yeah.
And
New
then-
York is similar to Miami in that way. I don't think LA's party scene to me is very different than New York and Miami.
Yeah, well, Miami's an intense party scene.
Well, everything closes here very early also.
Yeah,
like
that's
everything
true.
is closed. They are not like it's 2, but really at 1:30 it's last call and you are out the door at 2.
Which is interesting for Los Angeles, like a major metropolitan city that is like so like show business centric and entertainment centric.
I was
thought
surprised about it at first, but I think now, like understanding the demographics of the city, I think there's so much residential right next to whatever is also commercial.
Yeah, so they're being considerate of that.
It's like there's everyone is starved for space in this city that every inch it matters.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can't, like at some point, it's just like you can't make any area of the city unlivable.
Yeah, that's also true. And then I feel like from living in Miami the last couple of years, like those bars stay open till literally 4 or 5 in the morning. Or we know some clubs that stay open all damn night, like Space or whatever. And then
Shout out 11.
Shout out 11, exactly. And then living on the other side of that, I'm also like, we also don't need to be open that late. Like after a certain point.
I think for cities like Miami, it makes sense. Vegas.
Yeah.
And some places in New York. I used to, and maybe this was like when I first moved here, because I moved here when I was 29. I used to think it was just absolutely crazy that things close at 1:30. Now I'm like, 1:30 in the bar,
Amazing.
unimaginable.
Yeah.
I am in bed like this at the very latest 11:45. Like, who cares what's going on at 1:30?
Oh, I say no to spots.
fun.
I hustle really hard, but if somebody's like, "Oh, I run a really great show," and I'm like, "What time is the spot?" and they're like, "It starts at 11." I'm like, "Are you out of your mind? I'm not doing comedy at 11 p.m. at night. Like, I'm not. That's my one concession." But before we go, this was incredible. Do you have a big yikes moment that you would like to share?
A big yikes.
A mistake, an embarrassing moment, a vulnerable moment.
I mean, I think I would have had like a more specific thing, but in the spirit of like work and LA and like everything that we talked about, I think my biggest lesson and I talked about this on my podcast this week actually, is like a thing I'm implementing now. But my biggest lesson coming to LA was I was really terrified of being considered a diva. It was like a thing outside of the entertainment business to me was like the worst thing you could be. Like, you're hard to work with. Like, this woman is such a bitch. She treats people badly. And like the longer I've been here, I'm like, she probably didn't do nothing but ask him to be on time. Like, let me be fucking serious. Like, what did she do?
Yeah, I've heard that too. And you know what? I've talked about this before on the show, and I love that you said that, because almost every woman that got presented to me before I met her and before I worked with her as a diva, a bitch, all the things that you just listed out, I've never had a problem working with her. I've never seen anything that she's done wrong. And usually it's just like she works really hard and stands up for herself.
Yeah, stands up for herself, like has standards, doesn't tolerate bullshit, doesn't tolerate like incompetence. And it's really haunted me. And I've made so many poor decisions in the spirit of not wanting people to be able to say that at all about me. And now I don't fucking care. If you heard that I'm hard to work with, I am hard to work with.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
You heard correctly.
Yeah.
I do not abuse people.
Yeah.
I do not treat people poorly. In fact, I treat people great, which is why they take advantage of me.
Yeah.
Because I give people so many chances, and I give infinite space for mistakes.
But it's also why you've had to make some firm boundaries in light of all of that.
And I let people into my life personally. I give them access to my family, to my friends, to my network, to me, to my secrets. Fuck that. If you hear a word about it, absolutely, I am extremely difficult to work with. I expect people to be professional.
Yeah.
I expect them to treat me with respect. I expect them to honor the boundaries of our agreements. I expect them to not take advantage of me. I expect them to not talk crazy to me. It was such a mistake that I came to this town with that mentality. And I think it was a lot to do with being a woman, obviously.
100%.
Because you're up against all these different infinite number of things boxes that you have to check.
That you're somehow never checking, but checking, and it's
and
endless.
it's not to say that I'm not friends with a lot of people that I work with, because I absolutely am, and I love the people that I work with. But yeah, it's like final straw recently, and I was like, nah, no more.
Not doing.
No,
Yeah,
I am a diva.
yeah. And
Know
if
that.
If that means I'm a diva, then I'm a diva.
Please, like, yes.
appreciate you saying that on a personal level so much because when I started comedy in New York, I had no drama for the most part. Granted, there are people privately I didn't like or I got a weird vibe from, but like I didn't have any burnt bridges. Again, like you said, like I was good. I worked hard, no drama, no bullshit. When I relocated to Miami, I felt a lot of resistance because I think it's a smaller scene and it's just a different vibe. And I've been called a bitch a lot. I've been called whatever it is. I don't think she likes me. I don't like her. Every name in the book, every complaint in the book. And just recently I had a older woman comic and it took me by surprise where she comes up to me at a bar and granted she's drunk and we're friends, but she goes, babe, like, why does like no one like you? And it wasn't even, I was like, well, first off, what? Like, some of my best friends in comedy are in Miami. Like I have incredible relationships down there. I was fucking based there unexpectedly for 2.5, 3 years because of how good it was going. And I was like, why does nobody like, and I'm like laughing. I was like, who doesn't, that's news to me. Like I'm barely even here now. She goes, I don't know. I just feel like people are like, Julie, are you really friends with Britt? Like, are you really, you're cool with her? I feel like she doesn't like me. I feel like she's a bitch. I feel like and I said, anybody you're bringing up or you're probably referring to, like, I barely see, maybe don't work with, and I know for a fact I put my head on the pillow at night knowing like, I don't abuse anybody. I don't lie. Never stolen money from anyone. I bust my ass. I work really hard. I am no bullshit when it comes to that. She goes, yeah, I had to tell a couple of the comics. I was like, she goes, Britt just like gets shit done. Britt's like all about the work. Britt's like just wants to make it happen and make it. And I was like, yeah. And if that makes me a bitch and no one likes me, then fucking so be it. Like I was like,
but also like,
it's not personal.
This is not, this is not a sorority. Like we are here for work. And like, obviously you're going to create relationships in the business and those matter. And sometimes they're friendships. Sometimes they're just relationships. Sometimes they're just connections. Everything doesn't have to be that. And it's not my job. And I also just is like, this is just a woman thing. Yeah. It is not my job to make you feel like I like you. Oh yeah. I respect you. And that's enough.
Respect and kindness.
And
that's
kindness,
all.
like it's just normal human behavior. Yeah. I do not need to invite you out with me after. I do not need to like absolutely not. It's so principled. Like I treat you with respect and dignity. Asking for more than that is so fucking crazy to me. And you aren't even doing that back to me.
I know.
You're not even doing that back to me. What the fuck are you talking about?
It's all supplemental. It really is. And it's like, it also is like, I just came around to that too. It was like, when she was saying, and also it was just an interesting conversation. And when she was saying this, I was like, I'm barely here. I don't know who you're referring to. She's like, I don't want to say who has. I'm like, I'm not even asking.
No one gives a fuck.
No one gives a fuck. I'm not even asking.
It's honestly, it is a true. It needs to be repackaged because you shouldn't be for everyone. If you're for everyone, you're for no one at all. Like it is an honor that there are people should, if you're doing anything with impact, right? Anything that moves the needle, there are going to be people that don't like what you have to say. Yep. It is impossible. We are in the most like divisive time in history because everyone can share their opinion. Yeah. There's no way everyone likes you. It's impossible. You're not going to be attractive to everyone. You're not going to sound cool to everyone. You're not going to be enjoyable. People are going to hate your voice. People are going to hate your opinion on politics. People are going to hate how you dress. Who fucking cares? The people that are for you. And that is with your personal life, it's within your family, your friends, and your profession. And as long as you know, like you said, you can put your head on your pillow at night, you did good work. You didn't manipulate or lie or steal or connive within the business. You didn't abuse anybody. You didn't take advantage of anybody.
Tried my best.
What the fuck else do y'all want? I've had people treat me so horribly and then have the audacity to say that I was the one doing it. I'm like, dog, it's really disrespectful to me. I could have been so much worse. Yeah. Like don't lowball me on how bad I could be. Like, I'm really trying to fight going full villain now, but now y'all got me here. Like you push me over the edge. Now everybody gets to smoke.
I have said that exact thing. Like whenever people are like, I feel like she's a bitch. I'm like, you haven't even seen
like, be serious.
What I'm capable of.
Do you know how awful I can be? I've actually not even been awful. I've actually not even been that. Imagine if I did.
Yeah. You're like, I could have reacted and I chose not to. I didn't choose violence today. Thank you for sharing that. That's an amazing And it helps me on a personal level, so I appreciate that as well
course.
too, friend to friend. So thank you. And I think everybody knows we'll put where to follow you in the,
Thank you.
in the description. And thank you
Follow
for
me at Joy Taylor Talks on social media and my podcast, Too Personal Show. And you can see me on Speak on FS1 weekdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. And I also have a show right now on Fuse TV with MJ Acosta Ruiz, who is also from Miami.
Oh, amazing.
And it's a 6-part episodic series interviewing female athletes. So you can go check that out as well.
That's awesome. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.